I mean, economists, I think they calculate it's billions of baht of revenue lost already.
I don't think the government doesn't know who is burning.
Of course.
It's amazing how you click on that and they know exactly whose address it was and what day the fire started. And they don't want to destroy the lives of other people. They don't want to destroy the lives of other Thais. But yet, are they being selfish when they go out to 7-Eleven to buy that lighter that costs 7 baht?
We are very worried about this, and that's why Bangkok Community Help is getting involved.
If you are coming here soon, if you want to see more about living in Thailand, hit the subscribe button. We have so many things we want to show you, and we don't want you to miss anything. If you want the audio-only version of the podcast, it's on Apple and Spotify podcasts, and I'll put the link below. If you want to just check out clips from our Clips channel, I'll put that link below. And if you want to support us, if you like what we're doing here, buy us a coffee. You can buy us a drink down below. We really appreciate your support, and we can't wait to grow this channel. Tonight, I have some special guests. Well, one of them you probably will recognize. So I have Friso Poldervaart. Did I say that right?
Correct. Very good.
And Greg Lange. Is it Lange?
Yes,
Okay,
Lange.
Greg.
Yes.
And I was just telling Greg on the way up, I feel like I know you already because I eat a lot of your food.
Very good.
Can you give us a little background on yourself?
Well, a lot of people know me as Mr. Sunrise Tacos.
Right.
And so I started that back in 2007. So it's been a while ago. 18 years. So we're definitely a teenager.
18 years ago, was Mexican food known in Thailand?
Well, there was only a couple. And that was the whole thing. A number of my friends said, what's the first thing you do when you go back home? And I said, wow, it's eat Mexican because I really miss it. And they said, why don't you do it here? And at that time, I owned a lot of Subway sandwich shops. And, the rents are quite high here. A lot of people would be very surprised that the rents are as expensive as they are in Boston.
Really?
Yeah, if not more. So when you look at a bottom line of a restaurant, labor cost is low, but the rents actually in a mall are much, much higher than you would pay in Boston or New York City even. That which sounds crazy. You just can't believe it, but it is the facts. So a lot of times you do co-branding. And so we co-branded with pizza and coffee and that sort of thing. And I was up to 18 units. And, they said, why don't you do Mexican at this time? And so I looked into it, and that's how I got introduced. It was all my friends. Yeah.
You just mentioned Subway, and I want to ask you about this because I saw
Sure.
that. I think you posted this on Facebook a few weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on with Subway in Thailand?
So basically, there was one gas station that used to be the franchise indirectly and they had like over 100 locations that had Subway, in it. And when they sold out, they sold to another company that owns a lot of gas stations, right? So they didn't want to have as far as their particular brand that they own now in the competitors' gas stations. So they just, essentially they closed them because they felt that they were not acceptable to the brand, right? And so, this is what a number of people said. I don't know what the case is, but 105 locations were deemed unsuitable to be a franchise, and so they were closed. Now, this particular company made a big investment, right? Around $5 million per unit. And so they didn't want to go gently in the night, just closing 105 locations. So they just went out and bought their own sandwich meat, you might say, instead of where, everything is really gone through a lot of due diligence and, they're protecting the brand. And they had to buy the paper from a local print shop, right? And so when people were eating the sandwich, they would notice that they would get ink on there. And they said, well, what's happening? Because this never happened before. Well, it was simply because they were not able to buy from the proper channels, from the original channels. So that's why they continued on. And that's when it came out, hey, that there's 105 locations that are no longer in the system that are working illegally.
Yeah. So these, to be clear, these other shops still say Subway. From the outside, you would think they're Subway, but they're kind of operating not under the direction of the actual franchise agreement.
Correct. So now this, and when they bought them out, there was a big cash flow. I mean, big commission, you might say, royalty on a monthly basis. So I think I calculated, and it was like 120 million baht that is just wiped off the books on an annual basis. So, I mean, that's a big decision to close 105 stores. But the new company that has bought the master franchise, they're opening essentially a Subway every day now. I mean, if you're on the Facebook page, you see it.
Well, I'm not that big of a Subway fan. I'm not a fan.
But every day or every other day.
I like a good sandwich, but I'm not on their fan page quite yet.
But I would say in another 2 months, those 105 locations will be replaced with their own.
Okay. Yeah. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that Subway sandwiches is the largest fast food franchise in the world. Even more than McDonald's.
Yes, that is correct.
You wouldn't think so, but I guess for whatever reason, it appeals to a lot of different people from different cultures.
It's had its ups and downs. I mean, overall, I got involved in it, would have been, I think 2003. So that'd have been a long time ago. 22 years.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. What is the hardest part about running a restaurant or a food shop in Thailand?
Well, as far as when it comes to Subway, I'm not really involved at all. I don't go to any meetings. I was just the original shareholder. I own 66% of the shares, and there's the other 33% are real investors. But I own it under the Amity Treaty, whereas American can own a business here.
Yeah,
I could, if I wanted, own 100%.
Let me explain that real quick. I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of foreigners think that in order to have a business here, in order to register a business, it has to be Thai-owned. And I don't know if there's any other exceptions, but at least for my fellow Americans, there's this treaty. It's called the Amity Treaty, which I believe is the oldest treaty the U.S. has with a foreign country. Yes. I'm spinning a lot of facts today. I might be wrong on some of these, but I think it's the oldest treaty the U.S. has. And it allows, do you want to explain?
Yeah, it allows Americans to operate just like Thais. So we have a big advantage with that. So
yeah, I think there were maybe some additional requirements in order to get that. They don't just, give it to you as far as like capital. There's some other details.
You have to, instead of 2 million baht for a work permit, you have to come up with 3 million baht registered capital. But that's really the only requirement. Okay. Plus, it does cost you more money when you're setting up the company, right?
Sure.
But it's well worth it.
Sure, but you can own 100%.
That's correct.
Okay.
Then there's also the BOI. So if you register a company under BOI, you can also own it 100% as a foreigner.
Right.
But it's much more difficult.
Right, but BOI is much more difficult for, say, a restaurant.
Right.
If you're a factory,
BOI
no problems.
is Board of Investment?
Correct.
That is correct.
Okay. Those are typically specialized industries, like maybe tech or something like that?
Yeah, it's a board that promotes investment and also promotes to bring knowledge to Thailand. So anything right now in AI, in computers, this is very hot right now. So then you can register under BOI and you can own it 100%. You get tax breaks sometimes, years of income tax breaks, other breaks. So BOI is actually great, but not as easy to register. I mean, you really need to come with a detailed plan. If they like the plan, then they will give you that status.
But if it's software or computers, they'll eat out of your hand.
Then they will love it. Yeah. So it's a good way to do it too.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think I originally knew you from Sunrise Tacos, which, by the way, how many locations do you have now?
14.
14. And they're not just in Bangkok, right?
That is correct.
Where else can we find them?
Koh Samui, Phuket, Pattaya, and then Bangkok. But we're on the outer areas of, not just in the main city area too.
Do you find it's popular with Thai people or mostly foreigners?
It's like any popular brand here. At first, let's say 90% was foreigners, 10% Thai. And now I would say it's 60-40. So it's definitely grown.
So I originally knew you from that. Right. And last year, I started to learn more about Bangkok Community Help. So you came together with Friso over here, which, by the way, Friso was on his own episode about 8 months ago.
Yeah.
So if you want to hear more about Friso's story and his whole thing, go back and watch that. I don't remember what episode number
Click the link below.
But yeah.
You knew what
Click
you were
the
gonna
link
say.
somewhere on the screen or below or
I was
wherever.
thinking
Yeah.
it's like it's not one night in Bangkok, but 2 nights in Bangkok.
Two
for
nights.
me, right? So
That's
that's,
great.
cool.
Oh, you
Okay.
did 2 nights. Wow.
Yeah. This is the
You're a busy man.
second night. Yeah.
So, but how did you meet Friso? And then tell me about how Bangkok Community Help started.
So we both knew each other. We were not really friends, you might say, but we knew of each other. And maybe I think he came into my office
Yes.
and came and saw me and was picking my brain. I made so many people, and but I knew of him indirectly and sort of that thing. But he was a Facebook friend, and he wrote one day back in March 2020, "Hey, I'm thinking about the people that are not able to eat right now. The shopping malls are closed, and does anybody have a kitchen? Like to get this together?" I said, "Hey, let's do it. Let's use my location at Slum." So I think it was 6:00 in the morning. I show up with 50-kilo bags of rice, and we tried to attempt as foreigners make green curry.
Who, you couldn't find any Thai people?
They were all inside. It was.
Yeah. It actually turned out okay. The rice was
Really?
a little bit of an issue.
Yeah, it was not bad. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a so-called chef that I can handle this. Well, I was
Okay.
no.
He did his best. Let's say
He
like
did his
that.
best. Yeah, let's put it that way.
But that's the beginning. Yeah, that's how it all started.
The things that you never forget are the ones that there's always a little bit of hiccups, right? And so, yeah, I'm glad that day
Me
was
too,
the green
yeah.
curry, and that it was a little bit of a challenge. But we found out after that, hey, let's just bring bags of rice next time, and that's what the people kind of encouraged. They said, this is beautiful, fantastic that you brought for one meal, but I'm going to be hungry later on tonight, And so that's when we decided to go out and buy 5-kilo bags of rice. So we became very, very popular
Yeah.
with that.
Now, did you focus on a certain area or neighborhood, or was it kind of general?
I already had been sponsoring 5 kids with another charity at that time, the Slum Children. And so, essentially, it wasn't a lot of money, 600 baht a month, so that they would have food, these kids. So I knew of this particular charity, so we were able to just pull right up and start serving. They have a list of people.
Can I ask you a little more about that? Because I think people are going to say, wow, 600 baht a month for one child?
Right.
That's enough for a month?
That's all they requested. I think it was for the school lunch. And then they would bring, because they were able to buy some rice at a discount, that sort of thing. So they got a big bag, that they would take home.
I see.
Right? Yeah.
And what was the name of that charity?
Slum Children.
Slum
Foundation.
Children. Okay.
Okay.
I think it's generally 20 baht is like what the price is of a school lunch. But thing is, it changed a lot because now actually the Bangkok government, for example, they give free school lunches to every government school in
Right.
Bangkok, which again is that 20 baht that they sponsor. So a lot of things have changed obviously in that time. That time that didn't exist, that program.
Right.
So the kids, if they didn't bring the 20 baht to school, there was no lunch that time.
Yeah.
So, the good things have happened, luckily, but, there's still a lot of help needed, of course.
Yeah. So we're kind of at the very beginning of COVID. People aren't working. This is back when there were the lockdowns. And for a lot of Thai people, if you can't go outside and do some sort of manual job, whether it's delivering food or working at a restaurant or whatever, or like a shopping mall or whatever, then you can't make money.
So in this community called Lock 456 that we've actually made our home, it is actually an old dockyard. That's why you hear the name Lock. What do you mean Lock? Well, when you're thinking of a boatyard, they call it Lock, right? And so there used to be water underneath this particular, where all these houses are. And at this particular location, a lot of those people are taxi drivers. So, of course, if there's no tourists, if no one's getting out and the streets are empty, they're not working. And a lot of them work day to day. And a lot of them work as a clerk at one of the department stores. So they were not having income. And we could just see the desperation. You can tell when someone's hungry, really hungry. And that definitely came out. And so when but they're still very respectful. They line up and that sort of thing. So it wasn't like a bunch of hungry people just surrounding you. It was just respectful, but you could see it in their eyes that they're very grateful, and it was definitely needed. And it just went from that day to on and on. We were lucky in this regards that we took money out of our own pockets to get this ball rolling, but he happened to know Richard Barrell, and Richard Barrell mentioned it and said, I know of Friso. And then I think that generated maybe 100,000 baht. And with 100,000 baht, you're able to buy a lot of rice. And then we started doing meals. And then we had a mention by Richard Barrell, say in May of that year. And that happened to be when crypto was 60,000 at that time.
The all-time high at that moment.
The time it was
all-time high. It went back all the way down to
Yeah.
20,000, right? But at that time, it was at 60,000. There was a lot of and so a number of guys got really enthused about helping out the poor people. And we had a number of people, 200,000. They made it a competition amongst themselves. So we actually were able to raise 1 million baht. And with that 1 million baht, we're actually able to do much more, And so it just kept on growing. So the timing was right in that regards, as far as Bitcoin helped us, as far as that these guys had, money. I'm sure when it was at 20,000, they wish they had maybe the million back, but at least it helped them. Right?
I'm sure a lot of them held, and now they're riding high.
Yeah,
it's
now they're
even
riding
better.
high.
Yeah.
Now they're
So
even doing much
this
better.
whole Bangkok Community Help, this started as just a temporary thing to try to get people through COVID,
Right.
and then it developed into much more.
So our shirt here, it says we helped 1 million people. This is a really old shirt. And we've always talked about changing. And the last time we went to print, it was supposed to be 4 million, but they used the old screen. So it's still seeing the million. Kind of a funny story.
Okay.
We've done 4 million meals. At the height of COVID, we were doing 3,500 meals a day.
Wow.
But how long you guys been doing for that? Like for a year or like 2 years?
I mean, now it's been almost 5 years now.
5 years.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is we're still doing it until this day. We're still handing out 500 meals, 700 meals every single day.
So we do 500 meals in the daytime, and then at 4 o'clock we hand out 150 meals. So it's 650 now that we hand out.
Now, last time you were here, Friso, we talked about the Khlong Toei
Correct.
area.
Yeah.
And I was going to say the Khlong Toei slum,
Mhm.
but I noticed that you refer to this area as like the low income community.
Correct, yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about that and tell me about the people there and what you
Sure.
guys are doing there?
Sure, yeah. So I mean, the Khlong Toei lower income communities, that's basically our home, right? This is where we are a lot. And this is the biggest, I'm saying the word slum in Thailand. So 140,000 people live there, scattered around 42 communities. And this all came to be because 60 years ago, the Port Authority allowed people that were working in the harbor to let their workers build houses there, just in the swamps, just in the forest. Okay, build it here. That's how this, became the biggest slum of Thailand, right? Right now, this is a place where all the people, like Greg described, that help you every day, the truck drivers, the taxi drivers, the people that pump your gas, basically the people that make this city go, live there, right? So you will meet people from Khlong Toei, lower income communities every day. The interesting thing about Khlong Toei also is that, now we're in Watana district, but last time I think your studio was still in Khlong Toei district. So it's the richest and the poorest people living together on a very small proximity, right? So Khlong Toei people are misunderstood a lot of the time. If you're there, it feels very much us versus them. Because the people from the big city look at people from Khlong Toei, low work ethic, drug addict, alcohol addict, which is not true. if you go back 20 years ago, this might have been true because Khlong Toei was the most drug-infested place of, Bangkok, basically. But now it's the most, in our opinion, most beautiful place in Thailand. There is only one real nice part of Bangkok, and that is the Khlong Toei lower income communities. And I said it last time, and I will say it again. Please, everybody, visit there. Go there because you need to understand these people in order to see what we mean. And if you want to go with us, you can, because we are there all the time.
How can we go
So
there?
I know-
It's like
So
How
so
you?
the
Okay,
thing-
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, the whole thing is that he's talking about is why it's beautiful is because what is the most beautiful thing on a person? Like,
The smile.
yeah, right, exactly. So when you smile, that's beautiful, right? So it doesn't matter what clothes you're wearing. If you have a warm smile, people melt, right? And that's what you get. A lot of people are very surprised. How can someone that doesn't have legs, even like a guy got run over by a train because
Train, yeah.
he was a young guy and he was hot-headed and he had been drinking and he chased after this train, and then 20 years later his house is just a little shack, but yet he's smiling and happy, right? A lot of people would demean, like, why me, right? That's typical reaction, but not there. It is a special place, and that's why we actually call it our second home.
Yeah, I think I told this story before, but on my second ever trip to Thailand, I visited there, and I didn't know much about it. I knew it was kind of a rough area, and the people I came into contact with, on the outside they may look a little rough around the edges, but I was so shocked by how warm they were and how friendly they were to someone that they don't know that came from the other side of the world. And that stuck with me so strongly. That was one of the main reasons I decided to come back here and stay long term.
You see, this is amazing. Yeah, this is amazing.
And so we talked about these meals, the 150, and here's the perfect opportunity for you to be able to go out and see it. Is at 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock every day. We prepare meals. You're able to help cook, and then we hand it out, and you don't have to sign up anywhere. You don't have to notify anybody. You just go to the Center of Dreams. Everybody has access to Google. You type in Center of Dreams, Bangkok Community Help, and you show up at that location. And now you're able to go into the community, and you're going to give meals to bedridden, to elderly people, and you're going to feel really good about yourself. So a lot of times if you went into the area, you think, well, people are going to be wondering, why are you there? You're an outsider. Well, you're not going to be an outsider because you're going to be going with some of the locals to these houses. It is a maze of houses, right? They're in every direction, so you could easily get lost. But no, you're going to have a guide that go with you.
That's great.
You just show up at 4 o'clock. You'll have a beautiful experience. And you can bring your kids.
That Center of Dreams, roughly where is it?
It's in the Lock 456 community.
Okay.
If you say Big C Rama 4, this is maybe a vantage point some people know, right? It's 5 minutes from there.
Okay.
Right.
Got
So
it.
it's not far at all.
But it's
yeah.
on Google Maps or
It's on
something?
Google
Right.
Maps.
And if you're going to do Grab, you'd go Bangkok Vocational School. And it's right across from the Bangkok Vocational School. You'll see this big blue building, and you'll see the sign Center of Dreams.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, we really recommend it, yeah. Because
I would
it's,
definitely like to try that.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
going to make
please,
it out to do
please
that.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like
yeah.
you're giving meal in the same place every day,
Yeah.
or it's different
you're going to
places?
prepare. You're actually going to help cook the meals and package it, and then you go out and hand it to people.
Anybody can do that.
Anybody can do it. Yeah. So it's a meal program, right? So we have elderly, bedridden, they sign up in our program. So when you go, you visit grandmother, you visit grandfather that's maybe sick, cannot walk anymore. So it's not only like, okay, here's the food, but it's also you're sitting with grandmother in their house. Can be 1 minute, can be 10 minutes. You can be there all night if you want, right? But it's not only always about, okay, we bring a meal. Very important. But it's also about showing those people like, hey, there are people here that didn't forget about you, right? Because
Yeah.
they see you, they see a child that's 5 years old, they see someone else, they see you. They feel finally, and sometimes for the first time, wow, look, there are some people that really care about
Yeah.
us. They come and visit us every day because they want to help us. And this is so important. It's almost more important than the meal itself.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
that feeling of sharing that love, right? And that care.
In the same time, do you think that for them, do they think that like why people come like visit us every day? Do they feel like it's
No.
too much?
No.
Yeah.
They don't. It's also, I mean, we are very engaged with them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there are some days when grandmother says, today, no, it's okay.
They're happy.
Or you know what, tomorrow I'm at the hospital.
Mm.
So there's not a, it's not a, some people might say it's invasive. Some people even say like, it's like going to the zoo, right? Some people compare it with
Really?
like, yeah, some people,
Any comments? and
well,
stuff?
yeah, especially people that don't understand what we do. They're like, oh yeah, it's almost like,
It's definitely
you
not
go,
a person that ever went there.
right.
because-
So my comment always is to people like that, we invite you to come with us.
Yeah.
Give
There's
us
a lot
1
of
hour.
ignorant people, right?
Right. And then you understand. So really, I feel that we are almost like we're the representatives of these people. We stand up for these people. We talk about them all the time, right?
Yeah.
So we want to expose as many as people as possible to this area of Bangkok and show them like, look, this is a beautiful place and you can actually help. So again, please everybody come and join. You don't need to bring anything. You don't need to pay anything, nothing. You just show up, all.
Right.
Cool.
Right.
So the reason that I reached out to you guys this week is because there is a crisis happening in Thailand right now.
Right.
And if you're here, I'm sure this isn't news to you, but there's a big pollution problem. Thailand currently has one of the worst pollution of any country in the world. And I don't know if it's getting better. So I wanted to invite you guys because you seem to be very educated on the topic. And I love that. Greg, I was following you on Facebook, and you were posting a lot of things that I think the average person wouldn't know about this situation. So, first, I want to know, how bad is the pollution right now?
Well, thankful that you have an air purifier.
Yeah,
Yeah, good
Reading
job.
at 10.
yeah.
And outside, it's around, 150 this morning. And what is it now?
It,
Wow.
it drops in the daytime there to around 80 right now.
It was
yeah.
80.
Yeah.
80. Okay, so 80 is moderate. But 80 for a sensitive person, like kids that are under 5, that are easy to get a nosebleed, or if you're over 50 years old, those are what's called the sensitive group. And then you're supposed to be wearing a mask. So moderate, which is 80, is still around 6 times the level that they recommend, right? And so, yellow, moderate is like paradise to us these days, right? And, the thing is that my livelihood depends on tourism and people to go outside and eat and all that, right? So I'm not trying to blow up other people's business or anything like that, but I just want to talk about the facts. And the facts are, it's going to be kind of scary and it's going to trigger some people because they're going to remember the days of COVID with the mask. And I hate the mask. I don't want to go back there, but it's a necessity if we want to survive, right? And there's going to be some people that say, oh, the mask are even worse hindrance. Well, no, not when you're talking about PM2, right? So it is scary. So you ask the questions and we'll go from there.
So, I mean, from my point of view, and what do I really know? That's why I want to talk to you. I feel like when I first got here, the pollution was a problem in 2019.
Of course.
And I remember before COVID, I found out there was a company from like the Netherlands or something making PM 2.5 masks. And
Masks,
that's when
yeah.
I got into them pre-COVID.
And
I was doing the whole
95.
thing. Yeah. And now 5 or 6 years later, I feel like not only has it not improved, it's probably worse. And I just think in 2025, we have the technology and the systems of education now that I feel like, okay, there should be a way to start improving this situation.
Right.
So where is this problem coming from with the pollution in Bangkok? Why does this happen every year around this time?
Okay. So yesterday we attended a big event and we were able to look at the hotspots that are in Thailand right now. And and would you believe that there's 32% more fires this year versus last year at the same time?
What kind
Real
of fires?
These can be forest fires or they could be field
Agriculture.
fires, now
Yeah.
agriculture fires. That's what the fires are from.
Okay.
So there's 32. It was around 14,000 fires last year around this time, and then it was 18,997 as of yesterday, real live. And you could touch on the computer that particular dot, and then it would say how high, what the strongest point of the strength of the fire was as far as lightness, they call it, brightness, and then what day that the fire started. So they're able to track this all by satellites.
Yeah, and we're in Bangkok. This pollution problem, is not. Even though we're experiencing this issue in Bangkok, these fires are not necessarily near here. They're all over the country. Is that right?
Right.
Yeah.
So the number one area is around 250 kilometers from here. I forget the name of the town. I mentioned it on Facebook today, but it's around 250 kilometers north of Bangkok. So it's not surprising, but they went from 700 fires last year. They're up to 1,900 so far this year.
Okay. Now, I heard that a lot of this is caused by farmers who are trying to clear their fields for the next planting season.
Yeah.
Is that where a lot of these fires start?
It is. So I think the first interesting misconception is that a lot of people think this comes from the cars, right? That's what a lot of people think. Oh, Bangkok is so polluted because it comes from cars. It's around only 15%
Absolutely.
that comes from pollution from cars, from construction, and everything else. So where do we go then? Well, then we come to the agricultural fires, right? And this is exactly like you mentioned. It is, you say, yes, we have the 2025 technology, we have the know-how, but for a farmer that's been growing up like this and has been over generations giving over, the technology of clearing their field is nothing more than just lighting it on fire, because it's the easiest and the cheapest option. Yesterday we were in Khlong, right? And we were talking to farmers. We were talking to hospital. We were talking to government and everybody. And it was very interesting that it's very, very dangerous to start blaming the farmers. I think this may be a little bit closer to your heart, maybe with your family as well, because what the farmers say is, เราไม่มีทางเลือก we don't have a choice. If we buy the equipment, we cannot afford it. If we try any other technology, it means that our rice or our product is going to be more expensive than everybody else. So we cannot sell it then. So yes, the farmers are burning. Yes, the farmers are poisoning all of us, but it's not their choice. And it's in many ways not our fault. If you go even broader, maybe it's all our fault. Because why is it getting worse every time? Because we consume more. The farmers are producing rice for what? For us to eat, right? We are growing as a human species, so we need more of these, these food stocks, right? So it all makes sense. The good news is that there are new technologies that are actually cheaper and that can actually help the farmers to get better yields and cheaper produce. So these are the things also that we are working on, we're very interested about. But, the real reason is really that the farmers just do not have another choice.
Right. So the big campaign that we're on is say no to burning, right? And you put up the cross like this, right?
Can we all do it?
So all the farmers will say that.
Yeah.
Because and they don't want to destroy the lives of other people. They don't want to destroy the lives of other Thais. But yet, are they being selfish when they go out to 7-Eleven to buy that lighter that costs 7 baht to clear their field so they can put rice in their storage? And that's what a lot of farmers actually do, is because they only have 10 rye. If they went to the mill to sell it, they would actually lose money. I was amazed about this particular fact that there's no money in rice. They say sugarcane, there is. But when it comes to rice, a lot of those rice farmers, at the end of the day, they're just recycling as far as the loan that they're paying. They're paying a little bit off, but they're never getting ahead. Never, ever. And when they talk about the fertilizer, because of the soil being reused and reused, it's less yields that they're getting. And at the end of the day, no, they're not making no money. Not with the price of the rice. So they say, what are we supposed to do? How do we get the money to do it? Everybody looks down on us, but up to now we have no choice, right?
Yeah. I strongly believe that they don't want to like make the pollution, of course, but it just only the equipment for farming. It's a lot already, and like, and I think they want to help the people to, not much pollution, but it just maybe needs some support from the government or anything. And it's something that I also talk to my friends that actually it happens every year. What their governments plan for helping. Like you cannot just say on the social media, just say no for burning. You need to make some plans for them because especially they don't have that much knowledge.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
This is very true.
So the government will give a farmer with no collateral, a harvester, costs 5 million baht. They have to pay it back in 8 years. Interest rate is 2%. But then the farmer, why did not too many farmers take him up on that? They say, who's going to pay for the gas? Who's going to pay for when it breaks down? And how do I know I'm going to be able to pay it back in 8 years? So a lot of people didn't take him up on the offer. Now, there was other countries that did it, and they said, okay, it costs 5 million. How about we'll subsidize it. We'll give you 2.5 million. And now you just have to pay 2.5 million over 10 years. And the first 2 years will help you with the maintenance and the gas. So that was successful. And, in one country, as far as India, because India had a big problem.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's how they're controlling it. But at the end of the day, there used to be almost 100% of the people that burned, right? Now it's around 23% that are still burning. And there's still a lot that are doing green harvesting. We're talking about on sugar. When it comes to rice, it's a whole different ball game. Because when the machine goes in, it cuts off the top of the rice. So you have this stubble that's hanging out, right? And if they use a regular plow, it's going to clog. And they're only going to go 5 meters, and it clogs up. And they'll never be able to get the field ready. And they only have 4 weeks to get that field ready for the next crop. So if they burn it, it's done in 10 hours, 12 hours. And now they're easily able to get ready for the next year's crop, right? And there's another solution, which would be a Herald. It's called a Herald disc. And this Herald disc costs around 28,000 baht. It's not a lot of money, but at the end of the day, that farmer doesn't have 28,000 baht.
It's very difficult.
We're going to go into another option as far as soon.
Yeah.
But that's the reality up to now, was either having this equipment, this Herald disc, or a lighter.
Yeah.
Which one is the cheapest, right?
Right.
Of course.
That's the question.
And I understand the dilemma, because these people, they have nothing.
Right.
And if it was me and it was a choice between lighting the field on fire or providing for my family, I think I might light the field on fire. Right?
Correct. Yeah, of course.
Now, a lot of people would say, especially foreigners would say, like that come from the Western world, they would say, well, isn't this illegal? Isn't the government doing anything about this?
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that aspect of it?
They're arresting the farmers now, because some people say that in order for these policies to work, as far as the no burn, they have to enforce the law so that the people now will think twice about going out to buy the lighter. That somehow they will find a way to share the cost of buying the proper equipment. Okay?
Yeah.
So that's the dilemma.
Which is dangerous in many ways.
But is that a newer thing this year? Because I feel like the past years I was here, I didn't really notice
They've
this
never
news.
arrested anybody up to
They've
now.
never, even though it has been illegal. Is that true?
That is correct.
It has been illegal this whole time, but they
For
have
about
not,
a year. For about a year and a half now, 2 years. It's been illegal.
Oh,
so
really?
It
So
hasn't
that
been forever.
actually, it's a recent thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's been illegal for, let's say, a year to 2 years, but only this year really there's been more enforcement about
it's a new government, right? And they are trying to fight sort of the pollution in many different ways. The interesting thing is also, like, if you look at it on a regional level, right? So if we talk as politics as a whole, we have a central government, right, in Thailand. Then if you look at the district, for example, you have Obata, Obajor, Sojor, right? You know this, right? So these are the people that basically manage the district and then manage under there, right? Right now, I think it's the 1st of February. The whole country is going to vote for new Obata in all their districts, right? So obviously, that person is the one that needs to look and see who's burning and needs to control that. But if the elections are coming very soon and he's telling everybody, okay, he needs to go to jail, police, you need to catch him, you think he's going to be the next Obata of that district?
Yeah.
No, he will not, right?
Yeah.
Right. So, of course, they're all doing this.
Yeah.
Oh, there's no burning here. There's no burning here. So it's not as easy as
Need
saying
the people
like,
to vote them.
right. It's not easy to say, okay, the government can just sort of like, control this in some way. There are so many levels to this problem.
I don't
right?
think the government doesn't know who is burning.
Of course.
It's amazing how you click on that and they know exactly whose address it was and what day the fire started.
Yeah.
It is incredible what Uncle Brother, what do you want to call it?
NASA.
Brother can see. It was like, wow.
Yeah, and they're going to
I
share
was
this data with the government. So yesterday we met a company that's called, I think it's called Field C, that developed a new software where they use NASA images to see every fire in Thailand.
There were
So-
5 different government agencies involved with this.
Right.
It's incredible.
So
It's
there
like
will be,
AI.
you wouldn't be able to escape anymore
Oh,
because they will exactly see it burned that long, it burned that much. Again, what is the
and
enforcement?
they're able to zoom in and see the actual. I mean, it was amazing.
I'm sure the government of Thailand is very concerned with how foreigners, potential tourists, see the country.
Of course, yeah.
Because the more this news spreads around the world, people are going to be less, less likely to want to visit,
Yeah.
especially during this time of year.
Yeah.
Like I already know many people up in Chiang Mai in the north.
No, of
They,
course.
they don't want to live there
No.
during this time of the
Yeah,
year.
makes sense. I mean, economists, I think they calculate it's billions of baht of revenue lost already. On a
Right.
micro level, we see it on our Instagram, Facebook. People are writing, should I cancel my trip?
Yeah.
Oh my God, should I really come? It looks so bad, right? We will
Yeah.
always tell everybody, come. You need to come because Thailand, we need you. We need you to come here, right?
Yeah.
And we all need to be part of the solution, I think. Like we are responsible for, eating rice, meaning that, the farmers have to produce it for us. I think we're also all responsible for trying to come up to a solution. So to only say, okay, the government needs to solve this is also not 100% correct and not
You always get that in
fair.
the comments. And as far as why is the government doing anything, right? And so it was explained to us yesterday.
Mm.
You want to explain what his answer was? Why the government doesn't do more? Because there's many different departments.
Yeah, no, of course. Yeah. It's much more intricate
He
than
said
that.
there was
There won't be enough money
the
also.
sugar cane, right. There's how many crops there are in Thailand is what he said, right? And there's so many different budgets, right? There's so many different departments. And one of the things that they've done to try to increase yields, because of the burning, the yields have gone down. So they bought more fertilizer, right? Fertilizer's very expensive. And so the government said, we will pay half. And so then last year when they said, we can't subsidize you anymore, then they threatened to protest in the streets, right? And so the government's actually done a lot. And the people, they were saying yesterday, a farmer is a business. He should be treating it as a business and not be looking for that he has to get this free, he has to get that free in order to survive. Somehow he has to adjust and try to make a profit. Reality is there's no money in rice. It's pretty clear.
Yeah.
I mean, you do the math. If I'm a business owner, I always look at a location before I invest in it, right? Sometimes I'm wrong on my analysis, but I don't see any money in rice.
Sure.
Unless you're a big commercial thing. And they're not the ones that are setting the fires
And to be
because they have the equipment.
To be clear, is this just a problem in Thailand or all of Southeast Asia?
I think it's more of a problem in Cambodia and Laos.
Yeah. And then I think it's India, huge problem, but also Florida, United States, in the glades.
Really?
Have a huge burning season also.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
But they
And
only let them burn when the wind is blowing away from Boca.
So it
You know,
blows
so on the
inland.
other side is Boca, where I used to live, right? And so if the wind is blowing that way, they're not allowed to burn those days. It's only when, you know, it stays in the poor area.
That's really interesting. I never heard about that.
Yeah.
But interesting. Thailand's the number 2 exporter of sugar. The number 1 exporter is Brazil. And Brazil used to have the same problems, where just do a Google search on YouTube, Brazil sugarcane, and it'll talk and it'll show about what happened 30 years ago, that the people were going to the hospitals, they were full and all that, but now they have almost 0% burn rate. They force the farmers to do green harvesting, and they utilize the waste that is burned here in Thailand. They use it as ethanol. So they utilize what Thailand burns as more money for the farmer.
Not a commodity, yeah. So it is possible. There's many different ways. Some
but it's
countries,
to get the harvest.
Yeah, some countries use the stubble and make paper of it. There's many different things you can do. So I mean, there are many ways to solve this. Again, I think the firmware, so to say, needs to be updated a little bit. Burning is not a thing you can really do anymore. But the proper solutions need to be presented in the correct way. That's number 1. And they also need to be made affordable. You cannot say, okay, buy the new tractor, 40 million baht, right? We pay half. Or you cannot say, okay, if you burn, we come and put you in jail. Those things don't work anyway, right? We need to always come with a solution for people. That's the most important, because I think you said it very well. Nobody here is of interest to kill other people with PM 2.5, right? So if we think deeper, then we need to maybe try and understand, like, why is this then the problem for these farmers?
And I guess it get a little bit confusing, because there's 2 different crops, main crops. One is sugarcane, which is totally different than rice. So when we're talking the numbers where the mills are only able to buy 25% of the sugarcane that's been burnt before, and 75% has to be green harvested. And they're actually quite good about that, because in up to 2020, it was almost 100% burnt, right? So there has been adjustments made. While rice is a total different story.
Yeah.
They all have the stubble, and it's only the big commercial farms that are able to afford the equipment to turn the soil, right? And when it gets back to sugarcane has its own issues by itself versus the rice. So yeah, I just want to clear that up as far as 2 different things here.
Yeah, I don't think that most people realize how complex this.
It's very
situation
complex.
is,
yeah,
right?
yeah. It's
I
not
know
easy.
a lot of people are probably thinking, as someone living in Bangkok or even as a foreigner, is there anything they can do to even help the situation a little bit?
Glad you asked.
Very
You
good.
want to explain?
Very good. Well, of course, yeah. I mean, there's 2 ways. I mean, there's to help the farmers and to protect yourself, right? Let's talk about to help the farmers first, because of course we are very worried about this, and that's why Bangkok Community Help is getting involved. So there are new technologies, mostly in using effective microorganisms that can be put in the soil and that are basically deteriorating the stubble to a very easy to remove pulp almost in 8 days.
It goes into mud, basically.
Right. So that means you do not have to burn it. It is as simple as you take a pack, you put it in water, you drop it anywhere on your field. The bacteria, effective microorganisms, go into the ground and they start spreading through the whole field. So you don't need to do anything almost. The only thing that helps is to flood the field so it can spread faster, right? When that is done, all of the stubble will just deteriorate in 15 days, which is perfect timing for your next time, basically, right?
Right.
So this is something that we are now working together with actually the USDA.
So the United States Department of Agriculture, they invested $25 million US through an agency called Windrock. and they have developed different technology for Thailand, for the farmers. And one of these, for the last 18 months, has been this technology where you don't have to burn and it decomposes. And it's incredible as far as 18 months and work all went to one day yesterday where they were able to talk about the result of the farms that they gave the samples to, and it worked. And now the next stage is getting their neighbors involved, buying the particular samples. And a sample is around 350 baht for 5 rye. So it's very simple. You know, it doesn't meet as far as a lighter costs 7 baht, but it's pretty damn close as far as you don't have to burn. You're not going to destroy other people's lives. And that's all it is 350 baht. But what we're going to do is we're going to do it up in the Chiang Rai area because they have nobody up in this area. And you're talking about 40 or 50 farmers that will get these samples, and then people will see that it works. And then we're going to do a buy one, get one. So this is how the public can get involved, correct?
Right. So again, this is it's not a business or anything. It's just for us to find people that are interested to give the farmers this new technology. First of all, to use for free. And then when they see the results, because this is always what needs to be, then they can buy
Their
it by
yields will go up
themselves.
12% on average, and they need less fertilizer. So it'll be very profitable for them. It'll be better than if they had a tractor. So it'll work. And the huge thing is, when you burn, it destroys the soil. There's been a lot of studies about that as far as why the yields of Thailand are going down. Well, it's because the burning takes out a lot of the nutrients that you need. And so life comes back into the fields. And so it's quite exciting. So, you know, when this works, the first go round where we do the buy one, get one, the second time, as far as second round, the farmer will gladly pay for it himself. And so it'll work.
That makes a lot of
100%.
sense. Yeah.
And so we're very, very excited. How many do we want to try to help? How many farmers?
Well, the goal is 100,000 rye, so that's around on average around 1,000 farmers that we want to get
because the average
signed up here.
stakeholder has 10 rye, so
it's-
would be 2 bags. So the farmer pays 350, and one of the donors pays 350 to just get it started, to influence, to get him incentivized to try it.
And how if someone wants to be involved in this, how can they do that?
Donate. Donate.
The link
So I
below.
mean, check out the website bangkokcommunityhelp.org.
Okay,
That's
through,
where all
through your website.
Yeah.
Okay.
that's where all the information will be. So yeah, it's basically it's new. It's something that's working. It's something that we need to pioneer, all of us together. It's gonna take time. I mean, if we help a few thousand farmers this year, we can do another 100,000 farmers maybe next year. But we need to do something, right? So this is really the most easy way for people to get involved is just
So
say,
now,
okay,
let's say you didn't
I
want to
do
get
this.
involved. Do a search on life expectancy of Thailand with PM2. There was the University of Chicago. You're a fellow American, so you can relate to that. That's a well-known school. and they did a research on how does PM2 affect Thai people. Thai residents in 2020 had a life expectancy of 1.8 years less because of the air pollution. They did it follow up 3 years later, and now the results show 1.6 years. So we gained a couple months. But at the end, on your deathbed, are you going to look up and say, do I wish I had that 1.6 years back?
Yeah.
That I could live another 1.6 years. So if we continue the way it is, our life is shorter. It boil down. I mean, these are facts. People don't, when you're talking to universities, when they come out with these studies, they don't do it lightly. They do a lot of research. It's just like the United States Department of Agriculture, that when they came out and they put their name on this, as far as that this works, as far as eliminating the stubble, there's been a lot of research. There's been a lot of studies. And so these are the facts. So we either can force it or we can say, no, it'll never work.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely one way to look at it, is to be like, hey, we have to solve this problem or we're all going to suffer.
Right.
Friso, the way you put it about, you can't just blame the farmers, because we're all in it together. We're consuming, so they're providing. And that's a lot of where this is coming from. Yeah. And so that makes me think, okay, I have some responsibility.
That's it. Yeah.
So if I can do something even small, like buy a bag of this new stuff for a farmer in Chiang Rai,
right? So
to make their life a little bit easier. If everybody did that, we'd live in such a better country.
Yeah.
So,
no, this is it. Yeah.
I love that idea. I'm gonna, as soon as we get off here, I'm gonna go on the website and I'm gonna buy the first bag.
Fantastic. No, this is great.
The thing is, 350 baht doesn't sound like a lot. They say, well, why can't the farmer pay 350 plus another 350, right? That's 700 baht. Do you know that 700 baht is a lot to a person that's poor? Right?
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
To us, it doesn't mean anything. I mean, it's a tip, right? But when someone's really poor, when you're a farmer, they only make 8,000 baht worth of rice, a crop, as far as a year. That's it.
Well,
That's
they
what
have
it comes
to
out
put a lot of work on
amazing
that.
amount of work. Yeah.
You do the math, and it's just incredible how low the money that they can actually get from the rice.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Like, why do you do it?
It's more than the
I
average
don't think
pension.
they have anything else to do. I mean, but they could just stay in bed and not do anything, but they want to have at least the rice for their family.
Yeah. And I think, Friso, I told you this the last time you were here. One of the reasons I love what you guys are doing with Bangkok Community Help is because I firmly believe a lot of people, both Thai and foreigner, want to help.
Yes.
But sometimes you just don't know what to do, or you don't have the right information.
Right.
And so I love that you're spreading this message. And that's why I wanted you to come on and explain this, because I knew a little about this, but now I know a lot more.
Right.
And now I have a pathway that I feel like I can contribute, even if it's just a little bit. So thank you guys for coming on. If someone wants to follow what you're doing, where's the best place to find you?
Well,
At Bangkok Community Help. Yeah.
Instagram, he's big on Instagram.
Yeah.
And,
Anywhere.
Facebook.
Twitter, Instagram, TikTok.
Okay, so I'm going to put a million links down below.
Yeah. Just at Bangkok Community Help, you find us everywhere.
I'm gonna ask you guys.
But it's exciting on the journey, right? Sorry to interrupt, but the journey of the things that we're doing, I think is quite exciting. There's a lot of things that we're doing that we didn't go into. We didn't have enough time, but yeah, it's quite exciting.
Maybe the third night in Bangkok.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I have a feeling we're going to see each other again.
I hope so.
But I'm going to ask you guys, if you are someone that comes to Thailand, maybe you come once a year, maybe you live here, maybe you want to live here in the future, and you want to make the country just a little bit better, check out what these guys are doing. If you can donate even 100 baht. It really helps, because like you said, these kids, for example, that you're getting school lunches for, a school lunch could be 20 baht. So, a little bit of money goes a long way here.
Correct.
And if you come to Thailand, highly suggest coming out and helping
Come and volunteer.
at Center of Dreams.
Yes, absolutely.
It's
Everybody's
very, very
welcome.
easy. Right.
Yeah.
If you're coming to Bangkok soon and you want to see more of what's happening here, if you want to know the best places to go, what you need to do, what's going on with the pollution situation and everything else that's happening in this amazing country, hit the subscribe button, check us out on Apple and Spotify podcasts, check out our Clips channel, and we'll see you in the next one.